Welcome to the podcast. You are trapped in history with Mr. Malcomson.
And with Miss Basham. Today you are listening to our Ep.1 of our YouTube channel and podcast. And we're just going to give some general information about what our class is going to be like this year and what you can expect with this crazy school year that we're in. We are going to post separate videos of ourselves, kind of giving you a little bit more background information on our personal lives and, my dogs. And then today, though, is going to be more school related. So, Mr. Malcomson, you want to get started with Edgenuity?
We're going to have a debate over whose dogs are better whenever this whole thing is over. Edgenuity. So I know you must be excited for this. Edgenuity is going to be 50% of your overall grade this year. And similar to Google Classroom, you will be able to log on to Edgenuity outside of school. You can work on that at your own pace as we post and unlock certain units when we go through the chapters. Edgenuity will be ready to use around September or 8th or 9th. That's what it's pending to be ready on. But as you know, these first couple of weeks, we're all going to be on a virtual schedule anyway. For the first couple of weeks, we're mainly going to be using Google Classroom. And when it comes to tests, we're not going to do the test on Edgenuity. You'll just do mostly multiple choice assignments overall, and we'll assign those each week. And you have a couple of days each week that you're expected to work on those. I'm going to toss it over to Mrs. Basham now to discuss Google Classroom with you.
All right, so on my screen, you'll be able to see my second period World Civ Google Classroom. Now, just like Edgenuity is 50% of your grade, Google Classroom is the other 50%. So this is where we will be posting a bunch of assignments, videos, these YouTube videos, stuff like that you are going to need for this school year. We're going to post it on here. So this is, again, my second period. You should have received, if you're in my second period class, an email asking you to join this. I know Mr. Malcomson has done that with his classes also, so make sure you join. If you notice the stream, we do not have any assignments down here. We are going to try and keep the stream free of assignments. You will not find them here. These are just going to be announcements that we post for the class to see. To get to your assignments, you will have to go up here to classwork, and then this is where you will find all of your assignments. So right now, your screen will not look like this. These are all the topics we're going to go through by the end of the year. Okay, you do not have any of these because we've not posted anything under these topics. So for now, if you are in my class, you should have the remind code, which you need to join, and the class syllabus, which you need to read. So that should be all that you see here right this second. As we go on, so we're going to start with Renaissance and Reformation. Once I post an assignment under that unit, then you will be able to see the topic, go over here, click on it, and all of your assignments for this topic will be under here. So this will be how you get all of your Google Classroom assignments. Again, 50% of your grade. It's a pretty big deal. So make sure you are checking this frequently and staying up to date on that. Now, another thing, while we're virtual, we're going to be having some Google meetings. You will find your Google Meet link right here every single meeting. So if you're in my second period World Civ, whenever you have your scheduled meeting time, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you will go to this Meet link that I will put on there, and that will be your link for every meeting that we have. So everything you need for this school year, you should be able to find on here. Mine is Edgenuity, and will be very important for you to stay up to date with this. So, Mr. Malcomson, you want to talk about our YouTube channel and the podcast and kind of how we're going to use that this school year?
Yes, and so the YouTube channel and podcast is new, and it's just an attempt for Mrs. Basham and I to make it easier to access information that you need. Something that Mrs. Basham and I do not do. We do not do notes and lecturing in class, and if we do, it would be very little. So most of your context will going to become from watching these YouTube videos, or if you don't want to see my ugly face at all, you can also listen to the podcast. Most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Spotify or Apple iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play, whatever it is that you use. You will be able to find Trapped in History on there. We also encourage you to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications for the YouTube channel. This will be our first video for that. And then Mrs. Basham and I will follow up with 2 more videos about each of our personal backgrounds, just to get a little bit of an understanding of who we are. Because we both know that, yeah, it's a little awkward when you talk in front of a camera. It's new for both of us too. But both of us are very discussion and debate-based teachers. So that's a big part of our classroom. So getting used to being uncomfortable and making it more comfortable as we go forward, that's going to going to be important. But the YouTube channel and the podcast are going to be mainly used for us to discuss notes, specific events, have discussions together, walkthroughs or tutorials on doing different things, and maybe even sometimes sharing John Green style crash course videos to help you understand things, whether it's in an AP class or it's in the regular World Civ class. But other than that, try to listen or to watch those YouTube videos. Every once in a while, we are going to make it required for you to watch one of those videos or at least listen to the 5 or 10 minute discussion, whatever we have. And we'll try to keep them around that amount of time so you're not spending too much time on just our class. So we hope that you subscribe to those and check those out as soon as you can. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Basham for some important stuff about our test and using Google Forms.
All right, so as Mr. Malcolmson said earlier, we are not using the test on Edgenuity. You will access all of your tests, whether we are in person or virtual, through Google Classroom. All of those tests will be assigned on the same day. So, if we do come back hybrid, my hybrid kids and the virtual students are going to be doing the tests on the same day. The link for that will be posted on Google Classroom. It will be a Google form. We will post that the day of the test, and you will complete the Google form to take your test. The test questions are primarily multiple choice. At the end, you will have a few DBQs that you will have to answer. For those of you that don't know, a DBQ is a document-based question. So essentially what that is we would give you a photograph, a painting, some sort of document where you're going to have to look at that document, interpret it, and use it as evidence in your answer. So we will have a couple of those on your test. As far as daily assignments go, so kind of transitioning from tests to daily assignments, 2 days a week, you're going to be working on Edgenuity. 3 days a week, you are going to be working on Google Classroom. This is if we are virtual, hybrid, full in person, whatever. 2 days a week Edgenuity, 3 days a week Google Classroom. As was said earlier, we do not require you to take notes. We're not lecturers. We just think that is not either one of our styles. So those notes will already be on Google Classroom. They'll be filled out. Whenever we give you an assignment, you need to have either read the notes, listen to the podcast, or watch the YouTube video, or all three. If you just feel like overachieving and having all three, then that will help you with your assignments. So for example, one of your assignments, we might give you a source. It might be a photograph, it might be some reading, and then we'll give you some questions underneath that source that you have to answer. You probably won't be able to answer all of the questions just with that source. You'll have to go through, use your notes, use the videos, use the podcast, and use that information in answering the question. So make sure that you are checking Google Classroom, you are checking your Remind, you are checking your email, so you can see what you have due, whether it be on Edgenuity or on Google Classroom, every week, so that way you don't fall behind and you can get all of your work done. Mr. Malcolmson, you want to talk about our Google Meetings for the school year and how those are going to be set up?
Yes. So this might be one of the few things that you may need to jot down or just to make a mental note of this. So to talk a little bit about communication, each week you're going to be responsible for doing two-way communication with your teacher 3 times a week. Mrs. Basham, could you put the virtual schedule up just to help the students understand the outlook for, I guess, these first couple of weeks during our progress? So as she's putting up this schedule, as you know, we're not planning on starting the hybrid schedule until September 9th. So these first couple of weeks, we're all on this virtual meeting schedule, which I think is great. It's very organized. Your classes will not overlap each other, so nobody's class is interfering with anybody else, so you're not going to be at risk of missing a certain class at all. So that two-way communication that I'm talking about is very simple, and you're going to naturally do that as you go forward, but if it helps you to keep track, to make sure you're doing it at least 3 times a week, then that's fine. We also keep track as the teachers, but I might post a question on Google Classroom, and you say that's one way, then you respond to that question, and I say that's another way, and you're doing those. So whether we're doing discussions on Google Meets or you're answering a question on there and you're doing different work, you're going to be doing that as we go forward. But just to look at the schedule real quick and how organized it can be, another responsibility that you have for doing this communication is that during this 2-week period when we're all virtual, each of you are required, you're responsible to be at least one of these classes depending on whatever subject it is you're taking. So, let me give you an example. So in your first period class, your second period class, your third, your fourth, and so on, you need to make it to one of these Google meetings at least once a week. And I'll give you an example. Let's pick your first period class or your first blog class, which on here says it starts at 10 o'clock in the morning to 10:45. Now, if you have a first block or first period, you have 2 days to make it to one of those meetings. So you can be on Monday from 10 to 10:45 or Wednesday from 10 to 10:45. So whichever one you choose to show up on, you don't have to do the other one. And it's the same for like second period. So it needs to be Tuesday or Thursday. And you need to do that all the way from first all the way to eighth period as you go forward. The last part I want to cover is because when we do class together, we're always going to use Google Meets, and you're going to be able to see that link on the Google Classroom just like Mrs. Basham showed you earlier. We'll never use Zoom for that. We're only going to use Zoom for whenever we do instructional videos for our YouTube channel or when we're recording podcasts, because Zoom's quality is better, and when you share a screen like we're doing now, it's a better quality. So what we'll do is when we have class meetings together and you guys are in the class meeting with us, we're always going to record those meetings, and they will be directly linked to our Google Classroom page. When you first come into a Google meeting, please make sure that you mute your mic, because there could be anywhere between 10 and 20 or 30 people in a meeting. And just like last spring, it can get pretty annoying for the teacher and for the other students if you have a lot of background noise going on. So preferably mute your mic. Sometimes it helps to maybe have some headphones to help in case your mic you forget to mute your mic, because we all do that sometimes, and you can just kind of hear that in your ear. Try to get somewhere relatively quiet in your house and avoid background distractions or sitting next to a window, playing video games, playing guitar. You want to be as focused as you possibly can to get as much as you can out of that course. Remember, as Ms. Basham had said earlier, you're doing something unorthodox. You're doing something rather weird this year, and trying to have school mostly this way is strange, but you'll get used to it, and it's just a new kind of normal, and we're all going to get used to it and do better at it as we go along. Now, to conclude the podcast for today, I'm going to toss it back over to Mrs. Basham to discuss the syllabi and just to conclude about our email addresses.
All right, so final thing is where you can find the class syllabus. Both of us have posted it on Google Classroom, so you should be able to go there and access it. Please read it. It has a lot of very valuable information that will help you out. A lot of it we have covered in this podcast / YouTube channel, some of it not so much. So make sure you go in, you read that. It covers our expectations for both in-person and hybrid. And so it's very important that you read it. If you have any questions after reading it or after watching this video, then just shoot us an email. Both of our emails can be found in the notes underneath this video, or you can find them on the syllabi. So just kind of concluding it up on my end, I'm really excited about the school year. I'm really nervous about how it's starting because I wish you all were here. And neither one of us have ever taught through a pandemic before, unless you count last spring. So it should be really exciting to see how this goes. I'm really excited for you all to be in the school with us. But for now, like I said, if you have any questions, you can either send me an email, you can call the school. I have my remind codes posted on all of my Google Classrooms. Just message me on there. Either way, if you need to contact me, go ahead.
And as you said earlier about our email, we're practically punching you in the face constantly with where our email is at. It will be in the description for the YouTube channel, in the podcast, on our Google Classroom. And as you've noticed as you're watching this video, and Mrs. Basham can't see this, but our email addresses have been at the bottom left corner of this video the whole entire short episode that we've been in, and we're always going to keep it that way. We also put our Twitter handle on there for our social studies department as well. So we want you to feel more comfortable as possible, because we know you're trying to get used to this as much as we are. So if you feel comfortable, if you know that you can communicate with us as easy as you can to ask us questions, feel free to do that, because one of your first assignments is one that Mrs. Basham and I had worked on. Even as a former student of mine, Mrs. Basham herself had to answer it. So the headache that you're going to go through answering these deep questions about yourself, she's lived that before, and I've been doing them for now. This is my 12th year, because I am getting a lot older now. But that'll be one of your first larger assignments that we're going to give you over 3 days to really work on that and get that turned in. We'll have that posted soon, probably sometime tomorrow. We'll have that posted by in the morning for you to be able to open that up and type on it in the Google Docs. But please be honest with us about yourself and your background. It tells us a little bit more about you, and it helps us teach in a way that you enjoy and it connects with you. Other than that, we're excited to see you all this year, and we hope that you have a wonderful day.